Hello everyone, it's Bala here. I'm absolutely delighted to share with all our research project, which is entitled Community Pharmacy-led Older Adults Fall Prevention Program in Malaysia. The abbreviated version of the title is CareFree Seniors. We have to thank Alpro Pharmacy to agree to be partner in this particular program. So you will know the contribution of Alpro Pharmacy later when I'm going to go through the methodology. So in the next couple of minutes, I would like to share with you all about the protocol of the study in a very simple manner so that you don't get bored, being bored with too much of information, but you get important information for you to understand your significant contribution to the policy making later in the country. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. Before we go further, I would like to introduce ourselves to all of you so that you realize with whom you guys are going to be working with. I'm principal investigator for this trial. My name is Balamurugan Thangiswaran, an associate professor in clinical pharmacy at School of Pharmaceutical Science, University of Science Malaysia. Together with me, we have co-investigator, my colleagues, Dr. Fatima Zahra Abdul Aziz, and also Mrs. Nur Aizati Shahabuddin. She is the PhD candidate this project. She will be the coordinator for this study as a PhD student. She will be communicating with all of you throughout the project in terms of the follow-up and everything. We also have a separate supervisory team for this project. Why do we have to conduct the research? Now let us look into the purpose we are conducting this particular research. Anyone can actually implement new services in the anywhere if you like. But how are we going to convince the policymakers? How are we to convince the stakeholders for them to accept this or to be rolled out throughout the country? And that is why we are coming out with this particular research program. And the purpose of the research, which is the research objective, is to develop and evaluate. So I have make it very clearly that we want to develop our own model based on the model that has been published previously and evaluate the model. And what are the model? That is, it is a multifaceted intervention. So it is not only one intervention, there will be multiple intervention, which I'm going to share with you guys in a while. So what this intervention is going to do? It is going to improve the knowledge, and obviously by improving the knowledge, we can improve their perception towards the falls. By improving the perception, we hope that they will take a necessary step to prevent future falls among community dwelling older adults. So the study will be focusing on senior citizens, older adults, and this will be administered by community pharmacy in Malaysia. So we want to make sure that we work together to come up with an evidence which can be presented later to the relevant authorities so that we can also say that community pharmacy also can do new services like falls prevention program. So we are proud having able to get a grant to conduct this study, and we are also very proud to work together with Alpro, where the study is going to be conducted throughout the country. Let us look into the brief study design of the program. It is a non-blinded cluster randomized control trial. So I'm saying it's non-blinded because each of you already know that whether you are in an intervention group or you are in the control group. It's cluster RCT. Why we are saying cluster? Because we will have each community pharmacy as a cluster. Each community pharmacy will be allocated either into the case or control. For the pharmacies who are in the control group, they will be only implementing normal pharmacy services. So the study will be conducted in 40 community pharmacy in Alpro Pharmacy throughout the country. There will be 20 community pharmacy in the intervention, 20 in the control. And the study population, as I mentioned earlier, is adult more than 60 years old. Sample size was calculated for the primary outcome measure, which is to improve knowledge. And we have 232 samples, of which 116 in each group. If we look into this, so there will be at least 6 samples need to be recruited by each community pharmacy. The study period, so we are going to conduct a study with baseline and up to 6 months follow-up. Don't worry, it's not every single month that you're going to see the patient. I think it's very important to understand the inclusion criteria and also the exclusion criteria of the study. So the inclusion here is adult patient more than 60 years old, and those who are receiving more and equal to 4 chronic medication per day, because this is the one of the definition of polypharmacy. And studies have shown that those who are taking more than four chronic medication has a higher risk of falls. So for you to understand, everything is defined properly and everything is going to be evaluated properly throughout the study. This is what we say uh, reliability and validity of the trial in the research. And the other inclusion is actually willingness to document self-reporting falls at home, because one of the component in the monitoring of the study is the subject have to document their number of falls throughout the study period. So we have to have willingness, otherwise we cannot include them, isn't that? And capable of providing own consent. All right, the exclusion is we are going to exclude unable to communicate, to write in English or Malay, because our intervention involve either Malay or English. And patients who are having a palliative care, they are going to be very difficult. It's a totally different population. And those who are on sensory impairment and staying in residential care facilities. Okay, this is patient who are frail. It's not going to be included in the study because they are at a very extreme high risk. So our study in a community setting. So when you see, we are designing the study to be more practical, practical of the normal level of patient that you are going to see day-to-day practice, and how are we going to do something for them. This is the importance of the research. So obviously we have to exclude patients with cognitively impaired and also participate in other false study. So let us see the research flow. There will be a training of the community pharmacists, which all of you now, we are giving actually training for you so that you are familiarized with the study design, and then you are familiarized on the falls. How are we going to recruit the patient? How are we going to monitor the patient? You see, in the research flow, you're going to see that the reliability study will be increased by doing this. And we are very particular about the reliability and also the validity of the trial to ensure that we are doing the best. We don't want you or do want we wasting our time doing a research where we don't have enough reliable and valid data. We are going to go through this together. We are going to ensure that we really contribute to the study. So the training will be done, and then after training, all of you will be ready for the recruitment of the subject. There is a several step that is involved in the recruitment, and one of it is actually the screening of the patient based on the inclusion criteria and also the exclusion criteria. Once you have recruited the patient, for those who are in the intervention group, they have to provide the intervention. For those who are not in the intervention group, which is a control group, they are going to see the subject and do whatever they do at the normal pharmacy services. So in the intervention, apart from the normal pharmacy services, there will be also additional intervention. So after giving the intervention, obviously we have to evaluate the subject. That is where the 6 months evaluation. So we will evaluate on the certain time period. So the intervention here, if you guys can see here, the intervention that we are going to conduct in the intervention group is one is the screening. Screening here is different from the screening of the patient recruitment, as I mentioned earlier. That will be done both by intervention and control group. By this intervention here, screening is screening whether the patient has high risk of falls or not, based on the 3 questions that has been adopted from the CDC questionnaire. Then number 2 is the education. So this is the main intervention. So we have developed an education materials for this particularly, which I'm going to share with you later. The third one is the false risk increasing drug medication review. I understand some of you might be already familiarized with the medication review. So we are going to do specifically for false risk increasing drugs. Isn't that is one of our expertise to conduct an intervention? And the last will be the referral. Obviously, not all referral will be accepted, but we want to know how we can actually train our pharmacists to provide the referral. And all this intervention is not simply we created. The decision of the intervention being conducted was done based on the phase 1 of our trial. We did a qualitative study. We interviewed the stakeholders, including the patient, the subject themselves, older people, and they say these are the intervention that can be done by the pharmacist. Whatever is being done here is what a pharmacist should be able to conduct Not only in Alpro, in the future, we would like to be conducted by most of the community pharmacy in the country, if possible. This is our intention. What are the outcome measures? When we do conduct a study, we will have a primary outcome measure or secondary outcome measures. Outcome measures is the data that we are going to collect to achieve our objective. So the primary outcome measure in this particular trial is false knowledge. So we have a specific instrument. For each outcome measures, there will be an instrument which are valid and reliable, which will be used throughout the study. So we will ensure that the tools are translated and validated accordingly. So for fall knowledge, we are going to have a 22 item FRAQ instrument. This is divided into part 1 and part 2. The part 1 will be 22 items and part 2 will be 10 items. And then we also have false perspective. Okay, this is another outcome measure we want to measure. Remember, I told you by improving the knowledge, we can change the perspective. So that's why we have to measure the false perspective, which is a standard questionnaire, which consists of 7 items. Obviously, we don't only have clinical outcomes, we also have humanistic outcome, which is health-related quality of life, which is EQ5D. And from the name itself, I'm sure all of you know that it has 5 questions. And the last but not least, the outcome measure that we would like to measure is the occurrence of falls. This is the last because the study is only have 6 months period. We might not be able to see the impact for long term, but because it's a PhD research and also a short term research, this is what we can measure. A 6-month period, we will try to see patient reported outcome of falls throughout the study period. By the way, I haven't shared with you what is the definition of falls, right? Falls is defined as an event which occur on the person which coming to the rest of the floor or to the ground unintentionally. It can, and also another word is accidentally. So this is the definition of falls. So basically, we would like to collect all this data at baseline, month 1, and also month 6. And in month 3, we will be actually communicating with the patients for the number of occurrence of falls. This is why we have a telephone interview here in month 3, only on the occurrence of falls. I hope we will be able to retain the subject up to month 6. These are the intervention that we are going to provide to the patient. Remember, I mentioned the intervention that we are providing is education. So how are we going to educate them? It's not simply we are going to say, okay, can you just Google in the internet and find out with the education material? No. We have already come up with the education flip chart for the older adults. So CFS flip chart, copyright name for this. And this flip chart is going to use a storytelling technique. Why we are using storytelling technique? Because studies have shown that older people tend to understand and also retain the knowledge more when the message is being transferred using a storytelling technique. Particular storyline already been validated by multiple experts from various vertical background. We will be also giving them a booklet. Again, the information on this booklet being designed to make sure that patients are able to understand easily with the less word, bigger font, and then everything. So all the aspect of educating the patient has been included in the booklet. The booklet will be given to the patient so that they can refer that in the future whenever they want. How are you going to implement the intervention? What are the information you want to collect? Everything will be laid out detail one by one so that you understand in detail and ensure that whatever you're collecting are very important. All right, my dear pharmacists, I hope you already have an overall picture of the study. Why it is important? So that you are confident in what are you going to contribute in this particular trial. It is not something small, and we are very ambitious in conducting the trial. We have rolled out a lot of work has been done to come to this stage. Obviously, the trial will be only successful when the data collection is being done accordingly. So until patient is followed until the end. So for that, I would like to ask the help of each of you to help us to collect the data. And if you have any question regarding the study proposal, if you have any question, difficulty that you face along the study, you should definitely contact us and ask us. Izati will be in the WhatsApp group. You can always ask her. What is important here is you learn, both of us learn each other and ensure that we can implement this research until the end. And also, we want to make sure that the evidence is being presented to the relevant stakeholders later. We want community pharmacy be able to conduct the false prevention program in the future. Thank you very much. I hope to see you guys later. Bye.